Good afternoon to you. So, welcome to today's edition of Tomato Talk, top of mind, advancing through obstacles. Well, there are many obstacles that we all face, and a lot of folks find that communicating in front of a public audience, in front of an audience, maybe it's two, maybe it's 10, 20, 100, can be quite intimidating. Maybe it's just communicating in front of a camera that can be quite intimidating. Well, going back quite a few years, I had decided that I wanted to improve my communication skills. So I looked around for the right organization for me to join. And that's actually how I wound up in Toastmasters. At this point in time, I have been a member for, well, closing in on 2 decades at this point in time, have taken on virtually every role in the club. I have been involved at the district level with working with different clubs, helping new clubs get started, coaching other clubs, president of a new club along the way too, besides the taking over the various roles in my own club, and even running a conference back in 2009. What a learning experience that was. Well, currently my role is the vice president of public relations. So I'm going to share this video with you, today's episode of Tomato Talk, having more to do with Toastmasters. What is Toastmasters? Why get involved in this organization? Is it just for people that are afraid of speaking? Or is it for those that are really looking to improve their communication skills in a manner that really works for them? And you could really do something different. Because look, when you want to improve your communication skills and you're a professional speaker or you're a budding professional speaker, look at it this way. When you stand up in front of your audience, and you need to be the one presenting and presenting properly, you don't necessarily want to try something very new, do you? Well, inside of a Toastmaster club, it's all about trying something new and different. Look, for the newer speaker, just getting up in front of the room and communicating is a great accomplishment. We've had many members come and join for that particular reason. They practice their prepared speeches by doing the following along with the Pathways program, learning what it's like to use body language, even on camera, learning what it's like to use vocal variety, learning how to make eye contact and be comfortable with doing it, learn how to understand that your appearance to others may not exactly be how you feel others are seeing you. There is a difference. And for those that are more accomplished speakers, oh, I got to tell you, it's a great place to experiment. Because here, if you're not a humorist, if you've never added any humor to your technical presentations, you could do it here. You could do it inside of a Toastmaster club. You could follow along the pathways that has to do with being a more effective communicator or adding humor into your presentations. Now, it's adding humor. It's not adding comedy. There's a difference. Because if you're giving a technical speech and you want to get a smile, that's adding humor. You want to figure out a way for you to bring everybody's attention back to your presentation. That's what you call a good opportunity for you to add a little bit of humor into the presentation. It's a great attention grabber, besides rhetorical questions and things like that. How do I know these things? It's pretty easy. I practiced. I learned, I listened, I did a lot of things inside that Toastmasters organization that allowed me to expand my own speaking skills in ways I never imagined. Because it was inside of Toastmasters that I met somebody who was a comedian. And he invited me to get on a comedy stage. I got on a comedy stage doing that. But adding humor into the presentation, when I came to realize how important that was when I saw a professional speaker use humor, not just to get everybody's attention, but to actually make a point. I was like, wow, that really is fantastic. I wonder if I could do that. Well, I didn't wonder for too long. I tried. I really tried. Sometimes I failed, sometimes not, but I really tried to do that. And that was one of the greatest benefits to me about joining the Toastmaster Club. It wasn't just that I wasn't really afraid to stand in front of an audience. Au contraire. Actually, I probably had the other side of the problem. I was way too comfortable standing in front of the audience. I was so comfortable, I couldn't care less how long it took. The audience cares. There are quite a few things that can be done by a handout or PowerPoint presentation that could be given afterwards, rather than you sitting there and just spitting out facts. You need to become more engaging, and hopefully over the years I did. So, what is Toastmasters? Who is Toastmasters? We'll share a screen over here. I'd like to show you how many people are actually involved with Toastmasters. I have over here, what is Toastmasters? Besides, it's an international organization, international. 149 various countries are participating in Toastmasters programs all around the world. And what's absolutely fascinating about it is the fact that when they have the annual conventions, when Toastmasters has an annual convention, it's a worldwide phenomenon, worldwide, worldwide. And it's usually, it does take place in various countries. With COVID, there's been some changes. It's now online, but it's amazing when you see all those flags, and the people that represent all those countries all in one spot. That is great. That really, it's a very interesting way to represent how much this world is one when we all are on that same page. And that's a beautiful part about Toastmasters. Even going to your local conference. When you get in a room, we had 250, 275 people on an average conference attending. And when everybody's on the same page and everybody's helping everybody, it's fantastic. That happens in the club too. As you can see here, there are 300,000 members. 300,000 members. Absolutely incredible. And then the amount of clubs, almost 16,000 clubs. So could you find a club in your area? You bet you can. And what even is your area? Well, a lot of clubs are still meeting online. And I think many clubs are going to remain online and remain online forever. There's a lot to be said about an online club. I personally think that the idea of video, these video conferences, either StreamYard or Zoom or whatever, these things that are taking place in the workplace are here to stay. I mean, think about the amount of time that gets saved. Immense. When you have different parts of your organization getting together, client meetings, sharing documents by doing it on Zoom or some other platform. Fantastic. Time saver, huge. Money saver, unbelievable. Unbelievable. I could tell you stories about how people have expanded their business in ways they never imagined that they could, because now that everything is online, those client meetings are just as acceptable to do it in a digital format as it is in a face-to-face format. And sometimes you can actually share information, I think, a lot better, digitally speaking. So we might be one of those clubs that stays online all the time. So what's going on inside of a club? Well, a typical meeting inside of a Toastmaster club will have a number of different roles with just about everybody, or even everybody that's in that meeting participate. There are generally prepared speeches, 3 prepared speeches. Those are 5 to 7 minute speeches. They're given by club members, and each of those speeches has some objective that goes along with it. It all depends upon why that person has joined the club. Could be using vocal variety, could be giving an organized speech. It could be giving a technical speech to an audience of people that are lay people that don't understand the technical jargon of your speech, but you are there to try to translate it so that the average person can understand it. You're going to wind up in that situation. We've seen stories like that too. Folks that are in research or different areas where all of a sudden they're talking to the public. Well, you need to be able to do that and do that well. So you have 3 speeches. You also then have 3 people evaluate those speeches, let those speakers know what they did well, what they can improve upon, and give a little bit of encouragement for future speeches. Something that would keep them engaged, keep them moving along. But, that evaluator, that's a really important role, because not only are you evaluating the speech for the speaker, but you have to understand all those other people in the room, because you are now giving them some insight as to, 1, what a good speech is, in your opinion, how to evaluate, which is also an important thing to do, because a good club that has got strong evaluators really becomes a very, very strong club. But you also have to pay attention as the evaluator to the body language, to the other people in the room, and make sure you understand that what you are saying is one, understandable to everybody else, relatable to everybody else, and you're doing it in a manner that's positive. Because remember, Toastmasters is about giving speeches and learning from those speeches. So if you're giving an evaluation that is very specific and very, let's say, a little abrasive, and maybe the person you're evaluating is fine with it. I'm fine with it. But if you have a newer member, you don't want to have them feel that they're going to be given an evaluation that might be demeaning. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose for the evaluator is to give constructive feedback, not criticism, constructive feedback. Now, also at the meeting, we have some functionaries. We have an counter. Yes, someone who counts ums, ahs, you knows, and other filler words that goes along with it. Most clubs also have a word of the day. Somebody will come with a word that's heard wherever they heard it. They explain what that word is, give a definition of it, use it in a sentence, and the other members are there to try to use that word throughout the meeting. Another fun one is called table topics. I personally like table topics. So the table topics master can come with prepared questions. Let's call it 10 or 15 prepared questions. And then they would go around the room asking the other members to answer those questions. Who are they going to ask? Well, we want to focus on the other people in the room that don't have a prepared speech to give, or are not an evaluator, or don't have some other role. This way, everybody does get a chance to speak. But we also want to help them practice their impromptu speaking. Impromptu, not improv, but impromptu. There's a difference there. Impromptu speaking. So if I am the table topics master, I would say, this question is for Bob. Bob is now paying attention to that question. Everybody else has a nice sigh of relief that they don't have to answer it. And then I ask Bob the question. Bob would then come to the front of the room or unmute themselves if they're on a digital platform, and then respond to that question for 1 to 2 minutes. It gives them a chance to practice their impromptu speaking. You want to take it a little bit differently. You could ask the question and then pick on somebody to answer that question. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's listening in that room. Or you could do it some other way and maybe ask for volunteers, which is very, very easy way of doing it, because then whoever has theoretically the best answer, they can then respond to it. But what if you really want to push along your speaking skills? Now, participating at the club, becoming an officer of the club, great way to communicate, great way to learn leadership skills, because you're there, you're helping the club move along. Taking on one of the functionary roles, Toastmaster of the day, evaluator, or one of the other roles at a club meeting, also terrific, because now you get a chance to practice your speaking, because you'll be speaking a bit more frequently during the meeting, especially if you are a Toastmaster or the one that is leading the meeting. Or you can then go that next step further. Oh, and this is the fun one. So now let's assume that you really want to put your skills to the test. You really want to see what you're capable of doing. So then you'd go and you volunteer to be a participant in one of the contests. The districts around the world, everybody's got different things that they'd like to do. There's different kinds of contests. There's a table topics contest, whereas you get a chance to answer to a question. You have other contests that evaluation contest. That is another one that could take place. And then you also have another one is tall tales. Tall tales where you're telling a story, another contest. All that is left up to the districts for them to do or not do at their own discretion. But the one contest that brings us all together is the International Speech Contest. And what I have here is a international speech that was given in the past that I'd like to share with you. And I'm going to bring that up right now. And then afterwards, we could comment about why I think that this is such a great idea, especially if you want to become a professional speaker. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Toastmasters International Speech Contest going back to 2021.
Contestant number 4, Verity Price. A great read. A great read, Verity Price.
When I was a little girl, I used to love snuggling on my dad's lap while he read me fairy tales. Not surprisingly, I grew up wanting the fairy tale. To be happily married with beautiful kids, a gorgeous home, and a great career by 30. I never dreamed I would turn 40, unmarried, no children, and living in my sister and brother-in-law's spare room. For my ego, this was a scary tale. So I hid in the spare room, eating ice cream and binge watching Netflix. Ponti's chair. Have you ever noticed that at your worst, you always run into someone at their best? I had dragged myself to the shops just to get more ice cream, thinking no one I know is going to be there. But there she was, that friend. You know the one. Their life is perfect, and they tell you. Here I am, hand on fridge, stuck, having to hear how happily ever after she has ended up. Are you married? With kids? And your own business? And you bought a house? Me? Great. I wanted to die. I was a mess. My life was a mess. The spare room was a mess. But this was the mess where I found the last letter my dad ever wrote me. Seeing his familiar handwriting just flooded me with grief. Verity, your life is a book. And if you're not enjoying the read, write a different story. And then watch for a miracle, because I'm watching too. I shout at miracles, Dad, and how? How do I write a different story about this? To prove my point, I went to Facebook. And you guessed it, there were no stories of miserable 40-year-olds living in spare rooms. But the letter just lay there. It was like it was looking at me, almost whispering, write a different story. If anyone could write a different story, it was my dad. He wasn't a glass half full guy. He was a, aren't I lucky I've got a glass guy. When Dad was 60, he lost his job. We lost our home, and we had to live in a camper van. But the story Dad told was, we get to live like we're on holiday. He never complained that he'd gone from a corner office to selling insurance, door to door. Instead, the story he told was, I'm working on my sales skills. And the miracle that happened, Dad was Salesman of the Year, and he bought us a new home. And even in our last phone call, on his way to hospital, do you know what he said to me? Don't worry, V. You know I love breakfast in bed. Shame hit me like a bus. My whole life, Dad had been showing me how to write a different story. So, I picked up my pen. I looked at that friend and I thought, 40 is going to be my best chapter. I looked at the spare room and thought, this is my safe place to start over. I looked at my love life, and you know what I thought? I have got to stop kissing frogs. When I wrote A Different Story, my life began to change. I went from feeling shameful to feeling grateful. And for the first time, I stopped worrying about where I wasn't. And I started enjoying where I was. And the miracle that happened, within 6 months, I'd moved into a new cottage, much to my sister's relief. Within a year, I'd kissed a prince, much to my relief. At 44, I had a baby boy, much to my doctor's disbelief. This letter catapulted me into discovering that it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what chapter of your life you're in. Something as simple as choosing to write a different story can make difficult circumstances a lot easier to deal with. Now, I think you'll agree with me when I say the last 2 years have been a rough read for us all. But we've also written different stories. Ones where neighbors get to serenade each other and businesses get to pivot and innovate. And my all-time favorite was that time when we all waved our wands and bippity, your room turned into an auditorium and mine an international stage. My fellow storytellers, do you know what I've learned? Fairy tales are great to read to my son. Real life is full of detours, delays, things that go wrong. But if your life is a book, then every day you get to decide, is your story being written for you or by you? When my dad reminded me that I was the author of my life changed. So if you're looking for a change, you want a new chapter, or you just fancy a miracle, pick up your pen and write a different story. Trust me, it's going to make for a great read. Contest chair.
There you go, folks. And that is the Toastmasters. There we go. That would be the Toastmasters world of the speech contest. Now, let us talk about this. That is the International Speech Contest. The International Speech Contest is the only speech contest that continues on all the way through Toastmasters. Starts at the club level, goes to area, goes to district, goes to regional, goes to international, just keeps on going. There, that woman, Verity, had a chance, and she did. She competed against everybody that wanted to compete inside of the Toastmasters world. Now, how do you get to that level? Oh, it takes quite a bit. It takes an awful lot. First things first is you got to get through the club contest. That can be an exciting thing too, because sometimes somebody at her club competed against her. Obviously she won. They have a challenge because she's a very good speaker. But as you continue to win these contests, you continue to move into different areas, and maybe different areas of comfort too. I know anytime I've competed, the club contest was a number of people you're competing against. Could be 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe. Rarely is it more than that. You're standing there in front of maybe 20, 30 people. Get to the area contest, all of a sudden, it's now 30 or 40 people. Then you get to division, it gets to be more. District, now you're up to 200, 250, or maybe 300 people. Get to regional, get to international, you're now in front of thousands of people. Online, perhaps you're in front of tens or 100,000 people. Online, is that intimidating? Well, it all depends, I guess, as Verity puts it, it all depends on how you look at it, and what chapter of the book that you are in when you do that. Can it lead to a career change for you? Absolutely. Maybe it is your career. Wow, what kind of validation do you think you get from that to say that you're a communications coach, a speech coach, and you've won? You've even gotten pretty far up the food chain over here in the speech contest, the international speech contest. I know quite a few folks that have done that, and it looks great on their speaker sheet, on their resume, even on a regular resume. You put that on your resume when you're out there looking for and pursuing a different career someplace, and it's got to do something with communication skills. I bet that would elicit a question or two. It's like, hey, tell me more about this Toastmasters that I've heard about, or you've won a speech contest. What is that all about? And then you get to tell them how effective you are when you have 5 to 7 minutes, which is the length of time for a speech when you are communicating out. Toastmasters has done wonders for me. I've actually loved the whole process. First time I joined Toastmasters, well, again, I was comfortable in front of a room. I was not effective. I figured out a way to get effective. And I thank my club members for helping me along that path. There was a learning curve. Fantastic. When I started reaching outside of the club and to the area and division and district and started meeting some of the other people and got involved with another club and different members there, I wound up on a comedy stage. That was different. Improv comedy, let me tell you. Great way to learn. Also, then I started helping out clubs, leadership skills. Wow, that was something I never expected. Event planning to run a conference. That was something new, exciting, different, and I didn't know anything about it. That's the beautiful part about some of the things in Toastmasters. Hey, we want you to be our conference chair. I'm like, dude, I don't know anything about running a conference. It's okay. You'll learn. And that's what it's all about. It's not about the knowledge necessarily. It's not necessarily about the knowledge you bring to Toastmasters. What really is important, it's the attitude that you bring to Toastmasters. This is not a go it alone. You're not there just for you to learn and you to practice and you to do, because that's not it. It's not just about you getting feedback from everybody else. It's about you sharing feedback with everybody else and helping them along their path. And that is really what makes the whole thing work. Because when everybody's, as Verity likes to put it, when everybody's in that same chapter, you don't have to be on the same page, but in that same chapter, in the same book, and we're all moving toward that same goal of becoming more effective communicators, more and better and stronger leaders, then great things happen. Because opportunities will present themselves. They certainly will. You just have to be open to it and listen when somebody taps you on the shoulder and said, hey, how would you like to be conference chair? And you're like, I don't know anything about that. It's okay. How would you like to take on a leadership role and help out a club? Well, I've never done that before. That's okay. You have enough base knowledge at your club to help out another club or at your own club. When somebody taps you on the shoulder and says, we're looking for a new vice president of education, a new president, a new vice president of membership. In my case, I wound up becoming the vice president of public relations. That's my role this year. A lot of fun doing that thing. Great opportunity to go and learn and do. Do that. If you want to learn and you want to practice and you want to share how to become a better speaker, more effective leader, a coach, a better listener, well, Toastmasters is definitely a place to do it. And don't worry, whether you meet with a club online or you're meeting with a club in person, some of the things are the same. Some of the skills are different. And maybe an online club is perfect for you. Maybe an in-person club is perfect for you. Maybe a community club is the right way to go. Maybe you want to start a club for your corporation. Maybe you want to start a specialty club. All you got to do is go to toastmastersinternational.org, hit in the search button over there, and let them know what you're looking for, or pick up the phone. Send an email. Do whatever it is. Find your way to rewrite your next chapter as you become a better communicator where you can help others along their path too. My name is Brian Cohen, Vice President of Public Relations for the Stony Brook Speech Wolves. Very happy doing that thing. Glad you've spent some time with us today. And remember to do what you do best. Speak well, speak often, and live inspired.